Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, wonderful, super smart, hardworking, full of answers for your questions, wife and co-host, Michelle.
You're so sweet. Thank you, honey. Hi, everybody.
We're so glad to have you with us. We are recording this episode on Sunday, March 28th, 2021, as Michelle tries to get situated here with getting her computer in the right place.
You think since we do this every week, this
It would be a plan already? No.
And it would be easy. It's like, okay, it's like, the Three Bear situation. Like either my screen is too high or too low. I want it to be just
now
right.
It's just right.
It's not quite, but I'm willing to go
right.
with. Sorry.
It's perfect. It's great. What a way to start the show. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
I don't know if you've heard this before, but you can actually sign up for our newsletter, which would be really fun.
I don't think we've ever brought it up before.
I know.
So
It's
they
new
should
news.
know about the newsletter. Yes. It's just another way to kind of be in the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. We share with you what we have going on with our shows, other things outside of it. Sometimes there's some extra things that we throw in there, including this week. I believe that within the next day or two, by the time the newsletter comes out, my hair will finally be cut. Yes. The first people that are going to see the before and after of my haircut will be those who subscribe to the newsletter.
Nice teaser for the newsletter. Good.
And then eventually the rest of you will get to see it as well. But that newsletter will get to see how long it eventually got before and how short I eventually got it too.
Right.
Once I get this taken care of this week.
You compared it to a character we watched recently. Who was that?
Well, yesterday we watched Hamilton because, it's been like a week since we last watched it. So we had to watch it again last night. And I think my hair is right around Lin-Manuel Miranda playing Alexander Hamilton in that show. It's about that same length, just to give you an idea before you actually get to see it in the photo, or if you haven't gone back to some of our pictures from our last Walt Disney World trip or our videos when we were doing videos that we actually recorded ourselves doing these shows. Then you check it out. But it will be interesting to see how it ends up. And it has been a long time since I've got my hair cut.
Yeah, and I hope when they do it, it's to your liking.
And I hope that after this, you won't have to worry about me talking about it anymore because I know I'm boring you about my hair out there. So yes, exactly. Please also follow us on social media. We have a lot of fun out there with you on social media. We are on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel. Now I'm going to stop for a while saying that this week it'll be a simpler video. Instead, I'm going to tell you when we have a more complex video where we are recording ourselves. We just have a lot of stuff going on right now, something that will come to... You'll know more about it in the future, but we have a lot of things we're working on right now that are taking away my time to edit the video. But we still put these episodes out there in case that's another way you want to catch this show.
And you do a great job putting some auxiliary photos and things to really enhance the storyline.
On some of the older ones. The newer ones, they're pretty basic, but some of the older videos, if you want to go back and check some of those out, they are good. Also, if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
We love hearing from you. It's really great when we see some new emails coming through with people just reaching out to us. It's such a warm feeling. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you for everybody who, especially who chimed in for this week's show. We had a lot of great questions, and we're looking forward to answering them here in a few moments. Also wanted to mention that in case you didn't know already, we were on the last week's episode of Theme Park Thursday with Delos Diz. Easy for me to say. It was such a great time with Frank and Jen discussing Disneyland and the pockets of Disneyland and pretty much doing the hard sell on why they should come out and visit Disneyland once it reopens. But we had a great time.
We did. And, first of all, it was an honor. I mean, we love listening to their episodes. And they're just really fun, warm people. And you really can tell that when you're listening to them. And then when we got to be on with them and talk one-on-one with them, it was just like, oh, wow, this is just so fun.
We always
They're
have
amazing.
They're great people. We have a great
are.
time always talking with them. A lot of fun. And we did our best to sell them on making a trip out to Disneyland. We'll see if that succeeds eventually in the future. But either way, definitely check out that episode. And then check out the rest of the episodes of Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Dis, because they have great guests. They have great Disney talk.
Very impressive.
Yeah, they do excellent shows, and they are extremely hardworking, and they do great things just throughout the Disney community.
Right, and they're just wonderful people, and you can really tell that listening to their show. So.
For sure. For this week's episode, we have lots of stuff for you this week, including big news about some possible changes that are could be happening at the happiest place on earth. We'll talk, of course, about that. We received an announcement about the first steps toward being able to sail with Captains Mickey and Minnie again.
Yay.
That was kind of cool news
Yes.
that came out this week. And we received new release dates for a lot of upcoming Disney films, which we will discuss as well. But let's get to our main topic of the week. So yeah, we had so much fun doing this last year, right about almost exactly to the date, the same time. If you want to go back and find that episode, we did an Ask Us Anything episode in March, late March of last year as well. We just enjoy kind of letting you get to know us a little bit better. I mean, yes, we share our lives on the show.
Right.
We try and let you into what we have going on. But, sometimes we wonder about, we're talking into these microphones. We don't see you out there. What are you thinking about us? What would you like to ask us? So I feel like every once in a while, once every year, one of these Ask Us Anything shows is a good way to approach that.
I'm going to put on my Candace hat here.
Oh, boy. Do you ever take it off?
No.
Really?
I know. It's like, oh, I hope they still like us.
We had great questions this week.
Yes.
I'm really excited about a lot of these, and we're going to have a lot of fun with everything you asked out there. And again, even if you didn't get a chance to ask us a question before these came out, we're always happy to answer questions,
Right.
whether it be on the air, whether it be something you don't want to go on the show, just something that you wanted to contact us personally. Please hit us up in any of these ways, through social media, through our Gmail account, whatever, and we'll be happy to respond with you.
Yeah, we certainly do feel like we enjoy engaging with people who are listening, and we appreciate that.
Right. So before we get to the questions that you all sent us, which again, we appreciate very much. Thank you so much. There's one thing that we'd like to bring up every several months, just to kind of clear up some things about our name of this show. Because if you've just stumbled
That's a
upon
good
this
point.
show, you may not really know what's the Hyperion Adventures podcast about. We know it's a Disney podcast. At least I hope you've listened to enough to know that we're mostly focused on Disney. And you may even know a little bit about Hyperion. You may have seen it at Disney's Hollywood Studios,
Right.
or at
Just seen the
Disney
name.
California Adventure Park. And there's a couple theaters there, both with the name Hyperion there. So every once in a while, we like to share with you how we came up with this name. Now, when we came up with this name, we didn't really think it through how long the name would be, and how maybe it might be a little kind of tricky for people to figure us out out there what we are. So, maybe it wasn't the brightest idea, but we thought it kind of set us
It
apart.
was creative.
Yeah. What we thought about was that, when Walt started the Disney company, his first studios that he made a lot of the shorts, the Mickey shorts and such, Snow White, was at the Hyperion Studios that were located down in the Hollywood area. And we kind of thought, well, we're kind of starting our adventure
Right.
like he started his adventure. So why not we do a Hyperion adventure? It's our adventure through Disney, through all the different fun things that we love about Disney. And so that's what we kind of expanded it to the Hyperion Adventures podcast.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's creative or symbolic to us, and we're glad that people were able to connect with it too. So
yeah, technically we extended our name. We started off as Hyperion Adventures Podcast, and then we wanted to make sure there was Disney in it somewhere. So it's the Hyperion Adventures Podcast, everything Disney for every fan, just to make people, just to kind of, so you thought our name was long enough.
Right?
We go for the expanded version of the name,
Exactly.
and you never fit it on any billboard or anything out there. So that's why it's not on any of our stuff, really, just to kind of out the show, just to kind of have people find it. So,
right.
let's get to the listener questions. And thank you again, everyone. You sent some wonderful questions. We really appreciate some that really made us think, some that are just fun.
Right.
It's going to be a great time going through these.
I know. And we were trying to at first think if we should divide it up. So some of them would be at least more of a, unknown before the episode, but it didn't really work out. And some really required some thought and planning.
Yeah.
So I do want to put out there that we both know all the questions.
We both do know all the questions. I did. There's only a couple that I did think about some of these, but I kind of wanted to go off the cuff. I didn't make notes on most of these when I'm going in there. There was like one or two that I'm like, okay, I got to make sure I have notes on because they're a little trickier. But mostly, we just wanted to be able to go through them and answer them to the best of our ability.
Right.
So let's start with Jocelyn, who hit us up on Twitter. You can find her at Disney Gratitude 1. Drop the E, add a 1. She is great. She's a great follower.
Yeah,
Please follow
sweetheart.
Jocelyn. Yeah, she's a really wonderful person. And her question was, what is one of your must-dos when visiting Walt Disney World? Michelle, why don't you kick that off?
All right. And I put this thinking right now during COVID operations because we don't know how much longer all of that will be. So I'm not quite sure if it was to be like a specific activity or whatever. So in terms of park, it would be Epcot. Like if we were only going for one day, that would be the park that that I would select. And because of that, in attraction wise, like Living with the Land or Spaceship Earth, mainly just because they're just so traditional. And again, bringing back fond memories with family and friends. So that would be mine.
I agree with you on Epcot. If we could only do one park, it would be Epcot. If you were going to Walt Disney World, it's rare that we go and we're only doing one park. But if we were, that would be the one. As far as our normal Disney trips, where we're kind of hitting at least 2-3 parks at least, the one thing that I have to do, and this is actually true of Disneyland as well. The one thing that I have to do is the Haunted Mansion because I love the Haunted Mansion. Now, I love Star Wars Galaxy's Edge as well, but, as far as things to do within it, do I need to hit the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run? Not necessarily. Rise of the Resistance, it's always a gamble whether you're going to get to go on it or not. But you can go on the Haunted Mansion if you want to go on the Haunted Mansion. So it's like at some point in the trip, I need to do it at least once, if not multiple times, because it is outside of the newer attractions. It's my favorite classic attraction.
Makes
for
sense.
sure.
Definitely.
So thank you, Jocelyn.
Yes.
Appreciate that question. This one came from an email. It's from Scott, Minnesota, who connects with us often in email. He said, "Hey, Tom and Michelle. Okay, ask you anything you say. Challenge accepted."
Awesome.
He says, "We all know Tom is a culinary wizard." I don't know about that, but is there any dish that Tom has tried to recreate for the Disney Dishes blog that just wasn't up to standards, or what you remember from the resort? Or was there some funny mishap? Or did he burn his eyebrows off while trying to make Cherry's Jubilee? Did he mistakenly put curry powder in for paprika?" So those were his questions all bunched up into one. I'm going to ask you first if you can think of anything that was some sort of issue with something that I've created for the Disney Dishes blog.
Not of anything that like you recreated that we have tried. I think that there have been some things that are newer dishes coming out at some of the festivities, and there were some, and mainly just things that maybe weren't what dish I would pick even if we were there, but it kind of solidified it for me. So maybe that would be one of them. Like the one of the more recent ones was the salmon tartare,
with
slider.
the cheddar biscuit, which is delicious, by the way.
It is delicious. It is delicious. But for some reason, it made me think, okay, now that I've tried this, I don't need to try it there.
There you go. Because I just did it that well.
That's right.
Right?
That's
sure.
right.
Absolutely.
What about you, though?
There is most of the dishes. When I approach them, I actually look for dishes that I'm pretty sure I can either do a copycat recipe for, or I actually have the recipe for, or whatever the case may be. So I kind of have that going in. Another thing that's kind of helped me out. There aren't many dishes that I could say that I've had issues with. Maybe I've had to tweak them slightly, but I haven't. But the fact that I was lucky enough to go to a culinary school where they taught us technique, where you learn more than anything else how to make certain dishes and how to put that technique to make something similar. So all you need to do is look at a dish and say, okay, so this is like this. If I've made this, if I can make this, I can make this other thing.
True. Good point.
One thing that I did have an issue with one dish was that I recently made it was a Guinness braised short rib pot pie. And when I made it, I made the short ribs perfectly. They were tender, excellently. Then I was making the gravy for it. And the first try for the gravy ended up being a little bit bitter. So I ended up having that night served us the short ribs, with a different sauce with it and some other things, to do that. And then I had to remake it, retry the gravy on a different time. So we were lucky enough to have short ribs a couple different times during that week. But it was one of those things that I just figured I had to fine tune the sauce correctly, because the bitterness from the Guinness beer, the first time I tried it, stood out a little bit more than I wanted it to. And I just had to balance that out the next time I tried it. So that's one of those things. As far as mishaps in the kitchen, I'm actually pretty good with not having significant mishaps in the kitchen. Although I have done that in the past through my culinary career. I have burnt myself many, many times, cut myself many, many times. And it wasn't that, it was just a few years ago. I actually cut through from my finger and actually hit a little minor artery that we couldn't get the blood stopped, had to go to get that taken care of at one point. So, nothing scary but just one of those things that, it does happen when you're in the kitchen, when you're cooking rapidly.
Right. Or just, you're around sharp objects and hot objects. And, even though you take a lot of precautions, your attention could be distracted.
I actually burned myself way more than I cut myself. I've burnt myself many, many times on my arms over my life. I don't know why it is. I pay more attention to the knife, I guess, than to hot oil or whatever. It may be a hot pan. I don't know, but I do that.
I think one of the things you do more frequently is because you're used to working in like an industrial kitchen or whatever, is remembering to turn things off.
I do. Michelle come in. He's like, "You need the oven still on?" No.
Because it looks empty.
Yeah. I'm usually trying to rush the dish out. As Michelle comes home, I want to get dinner out for her. So I'm rushing to serve it all up, get it out there quickly, and I forget to turn the oven off. So yes, she catches me on that all the time. That's very true. That's a good point. Very good point. So finally, he said, and another question for you. What is your favorite outdoor eating establishment in San Diego? And would you like to meet me there for dinner some night the week of April 4th? I'll be in town claiming my Qualcomm seats.
Nice.
RIP Qualcomm San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium, which just fell this week. Let me know if you want to get together. Scott, we will be in touch with you about that. As far as our favorite establishment to eat here in San Diego, I have to say we are the worst at trying to get dining recommendations for in San Diego, because when we're home, I cook.
Yeah, I was going to say, Shay Tom.
We don't go out a lot, especially this year, but we don't go out a lot. We save up all our dining. Like, we can tell you all about Disney World and Disneyland or whatever, but when we're home, we don't usually go out a lot. But we'll figure something out for you, Scott. We'll talk about it this week. So thank you, Scott, in Minnesota, for that one.
I know, it's funny because we also know Burbank and other areas.
We know areas where when we travel, where we go eat, but when we're around home, I'm usually cooking. So,
yes, and it's a treat to have your food, so there's no need to go out.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
I feel that when we save that money and splurge when we on our trips. So moving on, Tony, the Disney dad, hit us up on Twitter. You can find him at Disney_discuss. Hope you're doing well out there, Tony. We miss you a lot, miss your podcast a lot, but I know you're doing some great things right now with the Disney company and with your family. So he said, a few questions because this is Hyperion Adventures. Totally makes sense, Tony. He said, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And now this is something that I'm going to say here right now. we are a very positive podcast.
Right.
We don't do normally topics like he's about to bring up here, but because it's an Ask Us Anything episode, we will broach on this subject. Although I have to say, I don't know what Michelle's going to do here, but I may, look on the more positive aspect of what he's asking here. He said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the most overrated Disney attractions. Michelle,
Right.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. It's hard because I think it's all mindset, right? And so it's like we're, like you said, we're positive in how we look at things. And I don't want to sound corny or anything like that. So the way I approached it was kind of more of I don't know, trying to find something that I may say, gee, this attraction could be better, if, or something like that. And so mine was the Tomorrowland Speedway. And it's always, it's always crowded. But if you've been on the one at Disneyland, which is called Autopia, it is sweet.
It's much larger course.
It's larger course. It's more things to look at. You have also the potential for the monorail going overhead, and they always beep their horn. So it's just a little bit more exciting in that regard. So I guess I would claim it as that. And then the other thing, I don't know if it's considered an attraction. I think it is the boardwalk games at Disney California Adventure, and I think kids like that, but to me, it's like, that doesn't make it uniquely Disney. So
yeah, I mean, they put those there because it was supposed to be kind of like the boardwalk, like the like say in Malibu, or not Malibu, but Santa Monica, where they kind of have that pier there, and so they made Pixar Pier to kind of have that feel there, and they have those games there, those fair style games, and they kept them there. They at least they themed them better for when they did Pixar Pier. But yeah, those games they never really do much for me. I agree with you as well.
Yeah. So those were mine. What about you?
For me, and I want to say this right off the bat. Look, as far as overrated attractions, and the reason we don't like to talk about that is because something that we maybe are not the biggest fans of. A lot of you out there that may be your favorite attraction, and I don't like to, I'm not going to judge on what attraction you like more than others or whatever. There may be attractions that we love that you're like, no need for that on
right.
day.
I know.
So,
I was thinking of that too, because like Small World, I think a lot of people wouldn't care for that, but it's so endearing to us.
So what I'm going to bring up is actually an attraction that, while it's a favorite for a lot of people out there, most people out there, it's not for me personally. I respect the attraction. I think there's some great technology involved with it. I understand why people love it. It just doesn't work for me, and that's Flight of Passage. I think it's great. It's a really excellent attraction. But for the wait time and everything involved with it, and then I have motion sickness on it. Like every time I get on it, I enjoy a lot of it, but there are times I just have to close my eyes. And then it takes a little while to regroup afterwards. And so it's just not my thing per se. Now I understand why people love it. I think it's great. I think it's a really great attraction. But just for me, it's just not my thing personally.
Right. Well, especially anything that could make you feel queasy or something, and not allow you to have the rest of your day or part of your day not doing well. I mean, I have some of that with some attractions as well. So
to me, there are no real bad attractions. I mean, I think somebody loves that attraction, something that you don't like so much, somebody's going to love it. I appreciate that. So Tony had some other questions for us. He said, also, in your opinion, what does Walt Disney World do better than Disneyland, and vice versa? Michelle.
Interesting question. Love it, Tony. So I think for Walt Disney World, they do better dining options for especially full service type of options. Disneyland, when it was created, really, and they've stayed true to their footprint when they first started, had a lot more quick service type of dining. So I think having better options of, really being an indoor full service is something Disney World does better.
Okay. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I think Walt Disney World is the better vacation destination. Like if
True.
you're going to take a whole week, and go on a
Right.
week family vacation, obviously it's Walt Disney
Right.
World, because you have so much to do there that even within a week, you're probably not doing everything you wanted to do, because
Sure.
they have so much going on in the parks, outside of the parks, so many different things you can do that have nothing to do with the parks if you don't want to. You can play golf, you can play tennis, you can go fishing. You can
That's a good point.
And they have so many wonderful resorts to stay at various different ranges.
Right,
Either
right.
Disney owned properties or some properties that are really nice that
True.
aren't Disney owned as well that are nearby. So I think it's a really great vacation destination. As far as Disneyland's a great park to hit on a weekend, a 3-day, 4 days. I think you can do virtually everything you want to do at Disneyland within 3 or 4
Sure.
days. Also, you don't need to stay on property at Disneyland to feel like you're getting everything out of it.
Right.
There are great hotels within easy walking distance to both parks. And like you mentioned, they're so compact that going back and forth between the two parks is so easy that
Right.
it's really easy to get to anything you want to within, just a couple days.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing that Disneyland does better than Disney World is, first of all, their special themed events. I mean, when they have a nighttime ticketed event, they totally immerse you into that experience. I mean, even to the little details of the guide map being very themed towards what the event is, like whether it's been the 90s or the Sweetheart or Star Wars. And the other thing that they do really well and probably better than Walt Disney World are their holiday overlays. They have some for Halloween, they have some for Christmas. And I think they are broader at what they offer for that.
Agreed. I love the different holiday overlays at Disneyland. I mean, they're trying to always bring back in the people that are nearby. It's mostly a locals resort, locals
Right.
park there. So you're trying to give reason for people that are within the area. Why should I come back to Disneyland when
Right.
I've already been there this year? And so, a change to Haunted Mansion or a change to Mater's Junkyard Jamboree or
Right.
whatever might give you more interest in going again.
It keeps it fresh and,
does.
yeah.
I like it. I like it that way. So finally, Tony asked, why exactly are Michelle's list the very best list? Michelle, why are they?
I would say that they really are not the best list. I'm just really blessed to have the most amazing husband who claims that. But I think you have awesome lists.
I do not. But Michelle's lists are the very best lists. It's just because she's just so great. So that's why. So. Moving on, Main Street Electrical Arcade.
You just solidified what I said was the reason why my lists are better. But thank you.
Okay. You say so. Because your lists are always the best. So, Main Street Electrical Arcade, hit us up on Twitter. You can find them at Arcade Main. He said, "Dear Hyperion Adventures, your podcast seems to have the momentum of a runaway freight train. Why are you so popular?" I like what you did there. That is actually something from The Simpsons. If you don't know, that was actually a softball question given to Lisa Simpson to ask Mr. Burns when he was running for office. And they had
funny.
dinner at the Simpsons house. So,
I didn't realize that. Oh, cool.
yes. But yes, our popularity does have the momentum of a runaway train. So
Yes.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yes.
That's a nice compliment.
He said, on a more serious note, best Disneyland restaurants, because we are definitely going next year. Michelle, what do you think about best Disneyland restaurants?
Okay, so my first funny answer is Corn Dog Castle. I mean, they make the best corn
You're not going to
dogs
find a better corn dog,
at
that's for sure.
Disneyland
Yeah.
for sure.
Or the cart. The cart has
Right,
good
I was
corn
going to
dogs
say
as well.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely. For Disneyland Resort itself, if you're specifically looking for table service, then I would say the Carnation Cafe. It's nice. It's right on Main Street. It does a lot of nods to Walt, having like Walt's chili and some fried chicken and things like that. A little pricey, but if that's something you want to experience, they do provide that experience for you. But personally, the Red Rose Tavern, which
Or
is
quick service place,
which is considered quick service, is really awesome. And I know people, myself included, quick service kind of deters me at times, but they really do have some interesting offerings that you wouldn't associate with quick service. Like for example, they have the enchanted cauliflower sandwich, which is grilled cauliflower steak, and they have a really nice aioli on that, and it's really delicious.
It is, yeah.
Their slow cooked beef poutine is amazing. And because it is with that Beauty and the Beast France theme, they offer pommes frites. Garlic pommes frites.
Yeah.
Which, yum.
There's a lot of garlic. It's
Yes,
a lot of garlic in
yes.
those.
And it's really nice too if you, when you're inside, whether you're just picking up your food or if you're going to sit inside, you can do inside or outside seating. They have, it's subtle, but they really have some cute nods to Beauty and the Beast. And, it's kind of nice if you take the time to look. It's very woodsy looking anyways. And then for Disney California Adventure Lamplight Lounge,
for sure.
And 2 words, lobster nachos.
Lobster nachos all day long.
Yeah.
Baby, all day long.
Yeah. So what about you?
By the way, the Lamplight Lounge also I recommend highly for their brunch. Their brunch is,
Yes.
if you can get that booked, that is excellent as well. They have great food.
Right.
Mimosa flight that's out of this world as well. Really good stuff. I agree with you on the Lamplight Lounge. I as far as Disneyland, I also want to add Jolly Holiday Bakery
Yes.
in there. Great sandwiches, soups, salads, and you won't find a better deal anywhere than the Jolly Holiday Special,
Yes.
which is half a grilled cheese sandwich and a bowl of soup.
Right. And that grilled cheese is on sourdough.
Yeah. Actually, it's a whole grilled cheese sandwich, I believe. But
Yep.
it's grilled cheese sandwich and a bowl of soup, and it's tomato soup are really, really good. Highly recommend that. I think Flo's has some good food.
Yes.
And great views, great ambiance over at Disney California Adventure Park. I actually think Disneyland has excellent food throughout it. I think whether it's quick service, whether it's table service, you're going to find better spots. Also, Carthay Circle, both the lounge and the restaurant
Right.
itself. If you were looking for something a little bit more upscale,
Sure.
I would recommend there as well if
Right.
you can get a spot in it. And that's a very popular spot as well. So
Exactly.
there you go. Moving on. So Doug hit us up on Facebook. He said, "What's the first thrill ride you'll ride when you go to Disneyland next?" Michelle, what's the first thrill ride you'll ride when you go to Disneyland next?
Well, if we could get a boarding pass for rides, obviously that would be one. But Matterhorn, I think would be
Matterhorn.
my pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Traditional.
It depends if you consider Rise of the Resistance as a thrill ride. I don't know if it's a dark ride, a thrill ride, whatever you want
If
to
you go
call
by
it,
the
but
classifications on their website and specifically ask thrill,
They call it a
They
thrill
call
ride.
it a thrill ride.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's a little more of a dark ride, but I get it. I can
includes
understand that. So.
Yeah. The other neat thing that they have on their website is if there is an attraction that is from the original, it'll say original 1955 attraction
very cool.
on the description.
Good to know.
And that, just when you go a list. So I never noticed that before.
There you go.
Pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. I agree with you on the Matterhorn. That's a distinct possibility. Also, Big Thunder
Yeah, I
is a
kinda thought about
possibility
that
as
one
well.
too.
But, we can do Big Thunder at Walt Disney World. Matterhorn is distinctly Disneyland. It's nowhere else. And it's just one of those things that we love. And we'll probably do that. One of the first things we do when we go
Yes.
back there. And he went on to ask, what things did you most take for granted at Disneyland Resort?
And that was an awesome question and real thought provoking. And I think the things that make it very endearing or special to me, I really, really missed. It's funny growing up on the East Coast, I always thought Walt Disney World was far and above the best in everything Disney parks could offer. But I've really grown to love Disneyland. And I think the organization has really done a lot to, bring back the pizzazz of that park. I think when I first moved out here, it was not quite, but they really have upped the game. But I think the unique things like, Cars Land at dusk, when they're lighting up the town. And
When the neon comes on.
Right. And, kind of what we talked about with some of I really missed the seasons of Halloween and Christmas, not getting to experience those overlays with the attractions. So I think those are the things I miss the most. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. The first time we haven't been to a Disney park during a holiday season in several years was this year. Neither Walt Disney World or Disneyland because of circumstances, obviously.
Right.
So yeah, missed that greatly this year. Look, it's just in general that we are lucky enough that we live within a couple hours, sometimes less, depending on the traffic, of just heading up there and, just waking up in the morning and, when we had annual passes and just being able to say, you know what? Let's go to Disneyland today. Miss that so much that we even just had that ability to do that. And even now, it's not going to be that way once they open it back up. You're going to have to do some planning on it. There's not going to be as much spontaneity involved with getting to go. So we're still going to be missing that so much. It's just one of those lucky things that we've been blessed with living where we do, that we've had that ability to go whenever we want. And so it's going to be definitely interesting and something we did take for granted. But I agree with you, several things, just walking down Main Street, USA, Haunted Mansion, going out and sitting there and having breakfast over at Flo's or something and watching the Radiator Springs Racers and just seeing that whole backdrop and that whole area and just enjoying
the double-decker bus ride.
It's just all those things put together. We've missed it a lot, and we can't wait for the chance for it to come back, at least in some form, here very soon. So thank you, Doug. Appreciate the questions.
Yeah, great questions.
So. More great questions came in from Camille and Jonathan, who hit us up on Instagram. You can find them. You can find Camille at Castle Bound and Down, and you can find Jonathan at Vinyl and Disney. They said, "Hi, Tom and Michelle. We're excited that you're doing another Ask Me Anything episode. We actually re-listened to the episode you did last year to make sure we didn't ask any of the same questions. And after thinking about it this week, we came up with 2 questions for you. One, I want to know," this is Camille, "if you could live in any Disney movie," as Michelle tries to knock over her computer here. "If you could live in any Disney movie, which movie would each of you live in?" Michelle, what's your choice on that one?
All right. Well, I guess from me toppling things over, this was an exciing question.
Yes. Couldn't wait to get you on to pounce at that computer to get the answer out. Yes.
In all, true Hyperion Adventures podcast tradition, it was hard to narrow it down to one, because one thing is, I'd love to live in the real Swiss Family Robinson treehouse. That's pretty cool. That's glamping, right? Almost glamping, yeah. Pretty like that. But to remain in one movie, I think I'd pick Onward. I like that it still has the wizardry and magicalness of it, but it still has the convenience of the modern day living that we can associate with. So, and I love those characters.
Yeah. Very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah,
what about you?
I have lots of thoughts on this. I'm going to leave Star Wars out of this because, Star Wars was around well before Disney existed. So there's a lot of places in Star Wars that I would love to live within. Obviously, hashtag real men love Frozen. So Arendale's a possibility, although it might get a little chilly at times. Although it does seem like their seasons are pretty nice in the spring and summer even. It looks pretty good there. But, going back and especially, watching the movie, but then also getting to play it within the video game Kingdom Hearts 3, I would love to live in the kingdom of Corona in Tangled. That just looks like a beautiful land. True. I mean, it looks like that they love their king and queen and their princess very much there. You can tell that they're good to their people. And it just seems like a really wonderful neighborhood to live in there. And then you go out into the outskirts and they have all these flower fields and trees and lush green areas and everything. It just seems like a really nice place to live.
Oh, that's true. Now that you're reminding me, I want to play that game again today, maybe. It is fun. Yeah, and that is a great, the scenery. And I do like how you incorporate in your answer the characters in there, too. Good job.
Thank you. So that would be my selection for that one. Now, Jonathan wants to know, if you could have any career in the global Disney organization, what would it be? Michelle?
Well, I think the one word answer that would come to mind obviously would be Imagineer. But really, in thinking about this, I would love to be, part of that team that designs and transforms the park overnight. That they bring new magic from the day before and then the next day when people come, and it's something that you could actually one, visually see what your work turns out to be, and two, get to watch the reaction from the audience. I think that would be, so rewarding to be able to be a part of that.
Right. You get to see a little bit of that in the Decorating Disney
Yeah.
special that's on Disney Plus and was on television a couple of times or
Yeah,
whatever. But
yeah.
what they do and their job. And
Right.
it is a cool job for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
For my job, I mean, I could work in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge would be a consideration for me, But I think really, look, for most of my life, I've worked with sound. I've always loved working with sound. And I would love to. And it's funny because I have this shirt that is a Skywalker sound shirt. And I put this shirt on. And apparently no one's seen this shirt before because I get asked multiple times, like,
Right.
if I work there,
Right.
And some people are like really just assume that I work
Yes.
there because I wear this shirt. I would love to actually work there. I think Skywalker
True.
Sound would be an amazing place to work.
Yes.
And that would I know it didn't start out as Disney, but it is a Disney company now. And I
Right.
think that would be it. Now, if you want to do more classic Disney, I don't know if it's classic Disney. I guess it's brand new within Batu. I'd like to be one of the people that helps guide people through building the lightsabers and tells the story of
sure.
it and everything.
Right.
From what I
That would be
understand,
cool.
having not experienced it yet, I understand that that's a really cool way to go through
Right. Yeah. Oh, good
that.
ones.
So.
Like it.
So thank you, Camille and Jonathan.
Yes,
Really
awesome
appreciate
questions.
it. Yes. Jacqueline hit us up actually on our YouTube page through a YouTube comment. She has a great YouTube page, by the way, as
Yes.
well. Please check her out. She's at Pixie Dust PhD. She does a lot of stuff on DVC, really short, really compact things that you can knock out
Right.
in like 15, 20 minutes. and
Great
sometimes even 10.
information.
Great information. Good stuff. Definitely check her out. She said, I would like to know your top 3 favorite Frozen franchise songs and your bottom 2. Michelle, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this.
All right. And I was glad she put it as like bottom 2, not like, that you just don't like them.
Right.
They're just, if you had to rank them, you're going to always have some that aren't going to rank as high as others.
Right.
So thank you, Jacqueline, for posing the question that way. I loved it. So my top 3 favorites would be Lost in the Woods. I mean, I just love that 80s montage sound to it. Into the Unknown, so powerful. And I think feelings that we can all relate to in terms of what the message is and that. And then in Summertime, it's just fun. And who doesn't love Olaf, and his quirkiness about that. So
Very
those
good.
are my 3 faves.
Very good.
You want my bottom 2 or you want to do?
Go give us your bottom 2.
Okay. So my bottom 2 would be Fixer Upper and Love is an Open Door. Again, fine songs, some cute parts to both of them that are, definitely endearing. But, if I had to rank all of them, that's probably where I put them.
Very good.
What about you?
Yeah, I would agree with you about the, Megan, glad that she asked bottom 2 because I'm going to say it right now. There's no Frozen song. I went and looked through them again just to be sure of this. There's no Frozen song that I do not like.
Right.
I like them all. I think every movie has great songs throughout it, and I really love them all. So it's just a matter of ranking them in some way.
Sure.
As far as my top 3, it's I Lost in the Woods definitely is up there for sure. The other 2, Show Yourself, I think is really, really well done. And of course, Let It Go. You know me.
Right.
Let It Go it's like the peak for me, and I'll never let that go. So as far as the bottom 2, again, this is really tough for me. I think maybe Reindeers Are Better Than People, only because I think that was like, it showed a little glimpse of what Jonathan Groff could do as Kristoff and singing. And he doesn't really get a chance to sing in the entire rest of that movie, as we saw in Lost in the Woods, how good he can be. And he does more in the other things afterwards. Sure. It's not a bad song. It just makes me want to have more from him throughout it. So that, and then I guess, if you want to build a snowman, but the extended version, just because it absolutely wrecked me when you hear the extended version, which I don't know if you, we're going to be doing our Disney songs that made us cry, our 5 favorite Disney songs that made us cry, volume 2 coming up here in a few weeks.
Right.
That may make an appearance in there again. If you don't want to wait that long and want to go back to our original episode and hear it, believe me, you have to be prepared for it because it will demolish you. And, you know,
It is great.
And so I think just because it demolished me, that's why.
Right. I get that. And we will have different songs on our volume 2. I want people to realize it's not going to be a repeat of the same
there's been
thing.
new songs that have made us cry have come out since then. So,
really?
Yes. Every song makes me cry. So, thank you, Jacqueline.
Yes.
Really appreciate your
Sweet
support with
question.
our YouTube channel. And again, check her out on YouTube as
Definitely.
well. We got hit up by Charles. He hit us up with an email. Charles, of course, with Pat on the Conversations podcast. And so, of course, he has a Star Wars question for us. He said, "Hi, Tom and Michelle. I want to know, who are each of your favorite background Star Wars characters?" Michelle.
Okay, and I wasn't sure how to interpret this question in the sense that were we supposed to just each pick one or just give some of our favorites?
I think it's just one. But I mean, if you have a couple.
Oh, I didn't know, so I put multiples.
Yeah,
so.
go ahead. Go for it. It's
All
the
right.
Hyperion Adventures podcast. Of course we have multiples.
So yeah, I had 4 that I mean, I could have probably picked more, but Aunt Beru. I just think she's interesting, and I'd like to know more about her. You know, I we do see her in 2 different phases of her life, but not a lot about her. And I think she has some interesting aspects, and you know, she does have that mothering aspect to her, which I think was very important for Luke, and glad to see that she was connected with him when he was growing up. So that was one of them. Similarly, and I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce these names correctly, Lor San Tekka from Force Awakens. I remember when that movie came out, he was a riveting character to me. It's like, oh my gosh, he's got so much knowledge and backstory, and I thought we'd hear about it, and we never did.
I think there is more about him in some of the books that have come out.
Right.
But yeah, you didn't get anything more in the movie.
Yeah. So, but I thought, he was, I felt like he kind of commanded the set when he was on screen. And then 2 kind of comical ones. Will Rohood, who's carrying the ice cream maker.
Yes.
I just love that.
So much so that we have our own now.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And I think it's pronounced Kabi or KB from A New Hope. He's the one that is, reaching for the drink at the bar. I mean, anyone who can, want a cocktail that badly, I can relate to that.
You can relate to not being able to quite reach the bar there.
Yes, and give it to me. Yes, I'm ready for it kind of thing.
Very nice.
Thank
Good.
you.
Good.
Thank you. So what about you?
I only have one. I'm going to go with Nine Numb, who you may know if you
The name's familiar.
Yeah, if you think about Return of the Jedi, he is the co-pilot with Lando Calrissian, kind of the alien species who is very expressive, whether he's frightened, whether he's laughing or whatever. He is also, he makes appearances in the sequel trilogy as well. He's a Resistance fighter pilot, and he is at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Yes.
He's one of the pilots that helps take you into Rise of the Resistance.
Right.
So because he's in all those things, I always just thought he's kind of an interesting character. He seems like a hoot to hang out with.
Right. What a great choice.
And he's apparently a really great pilot.
Yes.
So, I would like to know more about him. So that's why I went with him.
Very nice. Good choice.
Thank you. Your choice is excellent as well. Finally, we finish up with our last question from the day, and that is from the people that we made an appearance with this last week on Theme Park Thursday. Yes, this one came from Dillo's Diz. You can find them on Twitter at Dillo's Diz, Dillo's with an S, Diz with a Z. They said, if you had to build a team of Disney/Pixar animated characters to compete against the San Diego Padres, no one's competing with the San Diego Padres
I
this
know.
season. Come on. What's the lineup and what position would they play? I have a feeling this came from Frank because Frank is a huge baseball fan. So, Michelle, do you have a list out there?
Do we want to just do back and forth by position?
Sure, we could do that. So why don't you start?
Okay. So are we going to start with pitcher?
Yeah, when we go through,
Okay. I think I took the same lineup that you did.
And kind of did similar.
Yeah. I deleted them as quickly as I could so I wouldn't remember. So I don't think there's duplications, but I don't know because I did it really fast.
Okay.
Ian Lightfoot. I thought, he could do some really tricky pitches there.
That's true. It's got some interesting magic there. Yeah.
Right.
Like
and he did play ball with his brother.
That's right.
So that's who I would
Interesting
put there.
choice for sure.
Thank you. What about you, pitcher?
My pitcher, I went with Goofy because, Goofy taught us baseball.
True.
He taught us how to with baseball. So, and I figured, hey, he's got to be the master. He's learned some things with all that how to.
Exactly.
And he's going to have the best pitches. So he was going to be my pitcher. What about your catcher? Who's your catcher?
Catcher Anger from Inside Out. One, I think, it'd be easier for me, shorter. But I would just love to see the banter between him and the pitcher of trying to decide which pitch to throw. I think it would be a hoot.
You are not going to go against, you're not shaking off anger.
No.
You're not shaking off anger. That's a good point.
What about you?
I'm going to go, see, with catcher, I think you kind of want somebody that's really smart because he's kind of the coach on the field out there.
That's true.
Knows the pitchers, but also can kind of get in the batter's heads a little bit, can say that snarky thing when you want to. And so I thought Nick Wilde would be great, as the catcher. I think he's smart, but he's also knows how to zing in there once in a while, and I think he would be a great catcher personally.
That's true. Like it.
So what about for first base for you?
Tramp from Lady and the Tramp. I figured, hey, he's could fetch a ball and tag the guy out pretty routinely.
Right. Nice.
Thanks. Yeah. What about you?
I went with somebody who's kind of long and gangly, and I figure could, get the stretch going when the throwing across the field or whatever, would still be able to hit, would be, a lot of times I feel like the first baseman is kind of that cheerleader for the team. A lot of times it's kind of the captain of the team. So I went with Woody. From Toy Story, because I thought Woody kind of fits that role perfectly.
I guess that's true.
And he might be first base, you don't need to be super coordinated for it. I think you don't want him running around out in the outfield. He kind of runs like a baby giraffe out there.
Right.
So I figure that maybe first base is the right spot for him.
That makes sense. That's good. And I'm glad you put Woody in the team. I tried to think of a place to put him, and I just felt like the running just kept sticking in my head. And it's like, no, there's just no place for him.
Very good. So what about for second base for you?
Second base, I put Pocahontas. Oh. I figured she's a fast runner. She can do it even without shoes. So good on her.
Right, very good.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. For second base, I also went with a female character. Someone who I felt was fairly athletic, acrobatic, but also smart. Would be a strong middle infielder, and would be a good team leader. And that's Mulan. I thought Mulan is a really good second base person that would fit into that role very well.
Very cool.
So, what about your third baseman?
Now that you said, going back to your thing, maybe we should have done an all girls and see. Yeah. My third baseman would be Tigger. Yeah, I figured he could bounce, get jumping up there and jumping around and throwing the ball.
Be quick at that hot corner.
Yeah, right? What about you?
Yeah, I thought something kind of similar. I want somebody who's sturdy, but also is quick reflex. Mm-hmm. I thought Buzz Lightyear would be perfect at third base, and I could just see him throwing the ball across the diamond to Woody on the other side, every time. I just thought he kind of fits that third baseman persona to me. Buzz Lightyear.
That's true.
Does, so.
I feel like I'm ragging on all the Toy Story characters here, but I also wanted Buzz Lightyear on my team, but his arm fell off, and I just question, is he going to be on the disabled list all season? I mean,
he got rotator cuff surgery. He's good.
I don't know.
Yeah. Tommy John surgery. Whatever. Yeah, all good. So. What about for shortstop? Who do you have at shortstop?
I have Dash. I have Dash from The Incredibles or Incredibles 2. I just feel like his speed and ability to respond to things and react would be helpful there.
Very good.
What about you?
Yeah, I also have somebody from The Incredibles at my shortstop, and I tried to limit because you could just basically put The Incredibles out there,
right?
Because of their abilities.
I know. I thought
they could do a lot of different things, but I thought. You look at somebody who is he seems really slick. He can move around pretty quickly, easily. Team leader, strong player. I think he would be good not only in the field, but also with the bat. And that's kind of what you're looking for more and more with shortstops nowadays. And that's Frozone. I thought Frozone would be a really perfect shortstop for this team.
Yeah, I see that. Definitely.
So
good one.
Very good. So what about in left field? Who do you have in left field?
I have Elsa in left field. I feel like she's got a good arm,
That's a good point.
Very powerful woman. That's what I think would be great for.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice
What
choice.
about you?
For my left fielder, I want someone, left field it doesn't necessarily need to be the strongest arm, although, strength in an arm can be great. You want really a power bat in that spot, but also somebody who can field their position okay. You don't want them to be a liability out there. But I thought the perfect kind of person to fit that role is Hercules. He's a little.
Well,
he
could be anything on the team.
Yeah, he can be a little clumsy at times. Let's be honest.
True.
So maybe he's not perfectly meant to be a shortstop or
Right.
whatever. But left field, you put him out there. I think he'll have a decent glove. Definitely a great bat. So I think that he would fit perfectly at left field.
Yeah, I get that.
So
Good choice.
moving on to center field, who do you have in center field, Michelle?
For center field, I have Duke Kaboom. Mainly because I just want him on my team. And I figured, well, where's the least likely?
Yes, Canada.
Yes, he's got the enthusiasm. So I just wanted him there.
Perfect. I get it. You just wanted a spot for him.
Right.
Does he get the motorcycle or not when he's out there in the
I
field?
do think it's like a part of him. It's an extension of him. What about you?
For my center fielder, I wanted somebody because I think that my left fielder, although, he definitely can do some things. Maybe a little clumsy out there. Right field, I'm not so sure about. Again, I want big bats in those positions. So I want somebody who can cover. You really want a great defensive center fielder.
Right.
And I figured there was somebody who could cover a lot of ground very easily without even really having to move. And forget trying to get a home run over this person. That's just virtually impossible. And that's Elastigirl. You're not getting anything past Elastigirl. She's just going to stretch those arms and legs, and she's going to get the ball wherever it may be played.
Choice.
So that's my center fielder is Elastigirl.
That's awesome, baby. I love that. Yeah.
What about for right field? Who do you have in right field?
I have Maui in right field. Again, I think he's super strong, good jumps. I just think he's pretty versatile, and if he can use his hook and be even more so at times, that would be great.
Right. That's a good point. I like it.
Thank you.
I like it. Good
Yeah.
choice.
What about you?
My right fielder, now, maybe a little full of himself, but I kind of feel like he'd fit the role there. He probably has a really strong arm, good bat, can field the position fairly well. And you really want that in your right fielder.
Right.
And, like I said, he may have a bit of an attitude, but he feels good about himself out there and is going to, definitely drive the team when he comes out there. And that's Gaston. I want Gaston in right field. I think Gaston is going to live it up out there in right field.
I love that. Sure. I love that selection.
So
very good.
Yes. I have a DH just in case we were going to play some American League games. Did you list a DH?
I did list a DH. I put Genie from Aladdin.
Yeah.
I figured, we've seen him do some baseball moves in the movie and at least the animated movie. And, I just feel like he's, pretty all around helpful and could really be strong as a hitter.
Nice choice.
Thank
I like
you.
that a lot. Good choice. My DH, I figured I need a guy who's going to be strong with the bat, be able to hit, but maybe is pretty clumsy. And you don't really want them in the field if you don't have to. So I went with Wreck-It Ralph for my DH because I think that he can get up there and knock the cover off the ball when he's at the plate. He's going to
True.
He's going to hit that ball pretty darn hard.
That is true.
But if you're trying to put him out there anywhere in the field, he was probably going to struggle a little bit. So that's why I think DH is his role.
That's a good plan there. Yeah. I felt like Baymax should be on the team somehow.
I tried to fit Baymax. But
maybe as a third base coach or something like that.
He could be the team trainer.
Yeah. He'd be having to spend all his time fixing up Buzz Lightyear's arm.
Right. Do you have a lineup by any chance?
I do not.
Okay, I'll just go through my lineup really quickly here. So I have Frozone leading off at shortstop, Elastigirl batting second in center field, followed by Buzz Lightyear. I figure he would probably be the best hitter to kind of move the runners around at third base. Gaston there at the cleanup position because he's not going to take any other position besides batting cleanup. We want to keep Gaston happy, okay? Hercules batting fifth and knock the ball around after that, followed by Woody. Nick Wilde, Mulan, and then of course Goofy pitching. And then if you have Wreck-It Ralph in there, maybe he slides in. If you're having a DH, he slides into the 5 spot, and then you bump everybody else down.
Nice.
So that would be my lineup. So
very thoughtful there, sweetie. Good job.
That's the reason why I put that question last, is because I thought that took the most thought in the whole thing of all these questions that we went through. So, but great questions, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. It was fun, too.
Again, like I said before, just because we answer questions, we're only doing these episodes once a year, doesn't mean we don't want to answer your questions at any time throughout the year. Please send them to us. We can bring them up on the show, or we can discuss them off the air. We're happy to do that as well. So please hit us up any way you want to, whether it be social media or whether it be through our Gmail account.
Exactly. Thank you again. It was really fun, and you came up with some really interesting questions. We loved it.
Yep. So that was our second annual Ask Us Anything show. All right, once again, we're running long, so let's get to our Disney stories of the week very quickly. And of course, I want to start with the big news about some possible changes that may be coming to the happiest place on earth. This was really interesting news that happened late this week.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah.
Visually stimulating.
Yes. So this from the ocregister.com. They say Disneyland has unveiled long-term plans for theme park retail and parking expansion as the Anaheim theme park prepares to work with the city to reimagine what the resort district will look like over the next couple decades. Disney will be asking the city over the next weeks and months for more flexibility in how it develops company land planned for specific uses in the 90s to be able to add a mix of theme park, hotel, retail, dining, and entertainment on the eastern and western edges of the Disneyland resort. The overall footprint of the resort area would also would not increase in size. So it's just kind of keeping it in with land it already owns.
Right. And, it certainly makes a lot of sense. They have that property. Some of the other plans that they were first looking at, didn't make it through, and probably good considering what all happened, that, it wasn't going to be a lot of just hotels and stuff like that. But really interesting ways to creatively expand what the offerings are to the parks. And I think that'll be good moving forward as how things go. There is a big, like we've talked about in Southern California, there's a big demand to be in those parks, and more space is going to be, and more attractions is helpful.
For sure. When this first came out, it looked like, they're going to do a third gate, a ththird park.
Right.
But the more you look at it, like, no, this is not what that is. And they even talk about that in the story here, that if you really look at, and they did provide, an illustration of what it might look like possibly. And what it is expansions from both Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure Park into the areas next to the Paradise Pier Hotel and the Disneyland Hotel, and some of that land there, as well as kind of refurbing that area where downtown Disney, where they originally had closed off a lot of the places expecting they were going to build a hotel there, but that got shut down by the city council. So those kind of places have been sitting mostly vacant for the last couple of years now. So kind of reimagining that as well. Now, whether any of this comes to fruition, we don't know. Right. But the idea is that they're putting out more than anything else is like, we want to do this. We want to work with you, Anaheim City Council, to try and start making this happen, start this expanding this area. Yeah,
I think it's a win-win for the city and for people with getting more jobs and things like that, and having more fun.
Yeah, and look, the one thing with Disneyland is it's very limited. There's so much, unless they were just to buy out a bunch of hotels and various places out there, there just really isn't any land for them to do anything with. So they have to kind of use what they already have. So if they could find some ways to work around that, that's great. Now, another thing that they shared on the western side was it looked like it was going to be a kind of a hotel / a little bit of a theme park / retail area. That's what is now the Toy Story lot. That's also a possibility as an addition as well. So we'll see if what comes of this, if anything, but at least they are looking to move things forward.
Right. So exciting.
Yeah. Moving on, we received some great news about the first steps toward a return to sailing with Captains Mickey and Minnie this week. It was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Yep.
So this came from the Disney Cruise Line blog. They say Disney Cruise Line is joining in on the resumption of domestic-only cruising in Europe and planning to offer magical staycation sailings for United Kingdom residents only this summer under the name Disney Magic at Sea, which will be available for a limited time from United Kingdom ports.
Yes, exciting just to, be able to get the ships back to, having passengers on board and offering the fun services and guest activities that they are well known for.
Mm-hmm. So the Disney Magic is already over there in Europe. It's and last I saw it was in Dover when I last checked. So it is kind of gearing up for this. And what they'll have on the Disney Magic, they'll plan to sail mostly 2, 3, and a couple 4-night voyages, sailing round trip from London. Well, not technically from London. I think that would be from, London Tilbury. That's together. Right. So that's a port. Newcastle, Liverpool, and Southampton. So they're going to come out of different ports throughout the UK. They say they will be implementing multiple layers of health and safety measures, considering guidance from the UK government, health authorities, and medical experts. This includes COVID-19 testing, health screenings, face coverings, reduced guest capacity, physical distancing, and enhanced cleaning. So, it's just good. It's a start to show that they can do this right now, that they can get out there and cruise. Right. And since the UK has cleared that this is a possibility, they can't visit other ports, but you can get on there and have 2, 3, 4 days to enjoy yourself aboard the ship, which we love anyway.
Right. And I think it's helpful to be able to demonstrate to the CDC, what can be done safely, what all the precautions that would need to be put into place so that they could expand that industry back here in the U.S.
Yeah, and there are also some plans right now to be sailing out of the Bahamas, I believe, coming up soon that are going to be not sailing from the U.S. coastline itself, but some other cruises, not Disney Cruise yet. At least they haven't spoken anything or mentioned anything yet, but some other cruise lines are sailing within the Caribbean themselves, coming from foreign ports. Right. So that's also a possibility as well. But just great to hear. Can't wait for Disney Cruise Line to come back. We still have a Disney cruise booked for December that we're hoping will come through, but I think by then we're going to be hopefully in good shape, knock on wood.
Right.
We'll see. So anyway,
is that your head?
Yes, pretty much. Disney Magic at Sea staycation sailings are expected to go on sale in April 2021 for any of our UK listeners out there. So hopefully you get a chance to do that, and let us know how it goes if you get the chance to sail on the Magic.
That would be exciting to hear about.
For sure. Finally, Disney announced a slew of release dates for their upcoming films this week, both in theaters and on Disney Plus. So just going to go through these really quickly here. These came from D23.com. Disney's live action Cruella and Black Widow, which we've been looking forward to for more than a year, are going to be debuting in theaters and on Disney Plus with premiere access at the same time. So kind of cool news that, depending on what your comfort level is, what your theaters availability is in your area, that you will have the chance to see these films. Yeah,
kind of exciting that there's a possibility of some more, going to the big screen. But, sometimes it's fun just to be at home and enjoy the movies there.
You'll give you your opportunity to do what you feel comfortable with, how you want to approach these films. Of course, you will have to pay for them. They're not going to be on Disney Plus as they are. You will have to pay the premiere access you wanted in Disney Plus, or of course go to the theater and pay for the theaters. But it's great that they're going to be available for you. Cruella will be debuting on May 28th. And Black Widow will be on July 9th, and that's pushed back. Originally, I think Black Widow was going to debut in May. They've pushed it back once again, but that's good news that it looks like it's finally coming our way. Now, what will be on Disney Plus at no additional cost is going to be on June 18th from Disney and Pixar. Luca is going to be being released on Disney Plus. Again, not with premiere access, just like they did with Soul, just like they did with Onward. It's just going to be there for you if you are already a subscriber to Disney Plus on the 18th of June.
Which is so great. Such great news. We saw some parts of that at the D23 convention, and it looks so well, like anything Pixar. It looks great.
Yep. So looking forward to seeing what comes of that when it all debuts. Some other film dates they announced this week. Free Guy will be on August 13th of 2021. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings will be on September 3rd of 2021. That's another Marvel film. New Marvel hero we're going to get to root for coming up here soon. The Kingsman, will be on December 22nd, 2021. Deepwater on January 14th of 2022. And Death on the Nile will be on February 11th of 2022. So just giving you a few more dates there for some other Disney released films. So let's quickly get to our vacation tips, because we never leave you on any episode without some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation. As always, we always start with Michelle because she has the best answers to your questions. She has the best list. She's wonderful. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's hardworking. And she definitely has the very best tip. So let's get to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
Well, thank you, sweetie. So my tip here was inspired by the fact that my clinic had a power outage this week. So I thought about, what about your phone when you're at the parks, and saving on the battery of your phone, just so that you'll have it in, for that perfect picture moment, and you don't want to be sitting tethered to a charging outlet while you're at Walt Disney World. And so these are some tips. You want to, as much as possible, avoid using and reopening the Disney World app. I mean, it is a great app and it provides you a lot of information, but whenever you can avoid using it, that saves on your battery. So one idea is pull up on your page that has all your plans, whether it be dining reservations or your Rise boarding pass, and just take a picture of that and make that your home page of your phone. And then just when you go to your phone, you're not accessing the app for that. And again, saves on the battery time. If you're not planning to receive calls or whatever, you can put in your phone into airplane mode. And then obviously the concept of bringing an external charger is available to you. And the last thing about saving your phone is if you're going to be on one of the splashy water rides, is considering bringing some protection for your phone as well. And obviously they do make some that are very specific for phone, sealing up to keep your phone dry. But if nothing else, a zip type plastic bag could save your phone from, getting immersed in water.
Yes.
So
douse it in rice at some other point
exactly.
later on.
So anyways, that was quickly my tip on saving your phone.
Very good tips.
Thanks.
Michelle's tip, always the best tip. My tip real quickly is just for, again, we were discussing Disney Cruise getting back, and maybe you're thinking about going on your first Disney Cruise coming up and you have some kids with you and you're wondering, what kind of documentation do I need for a Disney Cruise? And you may think, we need to all get passports. Well, that's not the case. Obviously, I would recommend you getting a passport. It's the easiest way. It's the best way to do it. And if you want to travel to various different countries, plus it's just cool to get the stamps, at the different places, different countries you visit. But it doesn't matter, adult, child, you don't need a passport to sail out of a U.S. port on a Disney cruise back into another U.S. port. You can get by with just a birth certificate, a official birth certificate. It can't be a reprint or a copy. It needs to be an official birth certificate and a state issued license or state issued ID with your photo on it. That is all you need as an adult, anything 15 and older, to get on board a cruise. If you're younger than 15, you just need the birth certificate. That is it. That is all you need. So really easy for documentation to get on board these cruises. Yes, if you can get a passport, get a passport. But if you're running behind, we all procrastinate from time to time. Maybe you don't want to rush that. You don't necessarily need it. Just make sure you have all these other documentation so you'll be ready to go when you board.
Great tip, baby.
So there you go. That's it for this week. Next week, we're going to start the first in a series leading up to a big day coming later this year. Each month, Michelle will be looking at a different aspect of the most magical place on earth as we count down to the 50th birthday of Walt Disney World Resort. And that's going to start next week. I can't wait to hear what we're going to discuss as far as Walt Disney World next week.
Yes. So I'm excited to be doing this series. Each month we'll do a little different aspect of, kind of the history behind it and some of the current things and future plans. So I already have the 6 segments already plotted out with at least some bullet points, and we'll go from there.
Looking forward to it. Michelle's research, always the best research, and these are bound to be great episodes as we all get excited for the Walt Disney World 50th anniversary, 50th birthday party coming up on October 1st of this year. So very cool. So we appreciate that you joined us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
please sign up for our newsletter.
Please sign up for the newsletter. It's just another way to be involved in the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. Another way is also to follow us on social media. We have a lot of fun on social media, and we'd like you to be a part of that. Find us on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We have a YouTube channel where we're releasing mostly these videos, these podcasts in video form out there on that channel. And if you want to find us there, just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and you'll know whenever we have a new video or episode there. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
And we certainly appreciate it if you could please tell a friend about our podcast.
Yes, that's the easiest way to let people know that this is a show that they may enjoy as well. So that's it. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.